Come back to Straight Facts. It's Friday. It's transfer deadline day. I'm joined by Staffy. I've got Lawless in the house. There's loads to talk about. Sancho, Raheem Sterling, Arsenal with some issues today. We'll be looking ahead at the weekend's games and fixtures and getting the boys and your predictions as well. Make sure you hit the like button. Please make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. Gentlemen, how are you both?
Very good, mate. Very good. Deadline day madness is here. Good to see Staffy after he decided to, tweet me and then run. He done a tweet and run you best win tonight, and then we did.
I said I'm gonna watch the game. I'm supporting my what was it again? East London. You said my East London's finest. What's the issue there?
Okay, well we
support all the way from America. There you go. Needed a handball goal to score. VAR wasn't there to overrule it, but that's a conversation for a different day. I guess we're here to talk transfers.
Maradona, that was for him.
Yeah, I mean, if it was against you guys, I know there would be an outrage from DL, but there's no outrage.
It was. Like Callum Wilson did it and said it was a touch of magic a few years ago in his post-match interview when they asked him.
But I heard, I did see you're very upset midweek, Lawless. You were all positively in tears over the big clubs being seeded and being given home advantage in the Carabao Cup. And are you still seething about that?
Obviously, time, I wouldn't say it's healed it, but I'm not as angry in the moment, but I still think it's a disgrace that, just because they're changing the Champions League format, all the clubs that are in Europe have to get special treatment. Do you know what I mean? And they can't be facing each other. Like, there's no way that was the best option. And it's just made a bit of a farce of the competition, to be honest. I just think it's a joke. I know what you guys think. Obviously, you're one of the teams, I believe, you're in Europa League, so you get that special treatment. But to say, like Man United can't face Liverpool, Arsenal can't face City, and just give them better draws while we all get shafted, like we've got Anfield away. That is a joke, man. Like the whole the new format of the Europe, it looks long to me. Like you guys are in it. They've done it in Europa League, the whole league format. It looks really long-winded. I just think it's going to be a mess. It'll be interesting to see when it starts, but I'm not a fan so far.
I'll be honest, I quite like the new European format in terms of, I would just as a spectator, I suppose, and as someone that kind of covers the Champions League group stages on the channel, the last few years have been really boring. As a United fan, we were poor last year, so I suppose it made it entertaining for people, but no real tough games. Occasionally you get a group of death that's got a few decent games in it, but most of the groups are easy. Everyone's playing tough teams now, which is great. But the Carabao Cup, I understood what the people's objection to it. However, I actually, on reflection, think more of it should be done. For instance, incentivize winning trophies and winning the Premier League more. So example being, if you win the FA Cup, you start in the third round of the FA Cup and you're guaranteed a home tie. If you win the Premier League, you start in the third round, but if you're in it third round and fourth round, you're guaranteed home ties as an example, as an extra reward for where you finish. And seeding already exists in football. If you in the old format, if you won your Champions League group, you played against a team that finished second. In the Championship, if you finish third, you play the worst placed team in the semi-finals of the playoff, as an example. It already exists for Premier League teams. West Ham already have a seeding advantage over the rest of English football because you're in the Premier League. Because of that success, you come into the FA Cup in the third round as opposed to the qualifying stages, round one or round two.
The second round, I think we was in this season because we weren't in Europe.
The League Cup second round, yes, but the FA Cup, you still get third round still. So I think I totally got the outrage at first because I looked at it and thought that's a bit unfair. And then I started to think about it. Actually, seeding already exists in different ways. And then I thought, well, you could do it more. Maybe the teams that finish in Europe, or if you win a trophy, you get extra benefits in the English domestic trophies. That, yes, it gives you a slight advantage on winning more trophies, but shouldn't winning trophies lead to you being given, I wouldn't use the word preferential treatment, but in tennis, which is a great sport, the more tournaments you win, the easier your draws are in every other tournament you get into. So the reward for success is there. And
I can agree for the trophies. I can agree for that. But second, third, and 4th and 5th and 6th just for finishing those places. I disagree, but you're right.
I
FA
get you.
Carabao Prem.
Maybe, yeah. And maybe like you guys won the Europa. Was it the Europa Conference League?
Conference League.
Imagine if you get the money from it, you then qualify for the Europa League, but on top of that, you get home draws in the first 3 rounds of the FA Cup and League Cup. What an amazing incentive for the English teams in those European tournaments to try and win it. The amount of times, and West Ham did try and win it, to be fair, but the amount of times we've seen some of the so-called top 6 in conference leagues, even in Europa leagues, not taking it seriously. I just kind of like the idea of rewarding success with a bigger advantage of more success. I like, and we already do it. I mean, if you get promoted from the Championship to the Premier League, you're rewarded with £150 million, which even if you get relegated, gives you that advantage over the other Championship teams. So yeah, I think it's an interesting concept they could maybe expand on, really.
Can I say, just on the Conference League, it's time for everyone to stand up and give West Ham our flowers, because we made it look easy. Chelsea found out. Chelsea found out last night. We won that competition. Luton could win that competition. Huddersfield could win that competition. Leicester, Tottenham. We've had Villa, now Chelsea. All of those teams are finding out. Chelsea are in it this year.
No, I mean Chelsea. I mean, I don't know if you guys did you two watch the game last night?
I didn't. I was following the update.
No, I don't have the game. That's how irrelevant this game is to us. We have to go to Chelsea's website to watch it.
Yeah, I did. Obviously, I claimed it. I watched it, both home and away. Look, Chelsea had an abundance of chances in both to kill the game off and win comfortably. But Servette, both home and away, could have scored 10 goals. They had a lot of chances as well. It's going to be a really interesting competition to watch Chelsea in next year. How seriously do the players take it? How seriously do the club take it? I think they have to.
I mean, I saw Palmer was on that's one point. Palmer, Madueke, they was playing top players.
No, they had top play. I mean, yes, it wasn't the team that finished the second half against Wolves, but they had Madueke in the starting lineup. A lot of their fans have been gushing over Guiu all summer. Enzo Fernandez started. Two of their new signings, the new boys that they rate in Tosin and Dewsbury Hall, started the game. It wasn't a team full of scrubs. This was the squad, by the way, that the likes of Don says can challenge for the league title. So, again, it can't be a case of this can challenge for the league title. But yeah, it's okay to lose to Servette because it's our second team. That makes sense.
I said that to him, and he vanished. He done a disappearing act. Had nothing to say for it. Deflected.
Yeah, Don didn't come on to the match reaction. He went, I was recording my own. His match reaction was 12 minutes long, and we were live for 40 minutes. And I just was like, okay. And but it is, maybe he had internet problems. Maybe he's thinking of what to say. I don't know. There we go. Look, lots to talk about today in terms of transfers. The first one I want to jump into, Jadon Sancho to Chelsea, reported by some as almost imminent, loan with an obligation to buy, which I think suits Manchester United. There were reports 2 days ago, and we spoke about it quite at length on the terrace, that a total agreement had been with Juve, that the player wanted Juve as his number one choice. It looked like he'd turned down Chelsea. 48 hours later, Juve have done the old "we've walked away" nonsense. No, Juve have now been rejected. Chelsea have convinced the player, and fair play to them. But Sancho looks like he's going to become a Chelsea player. What's your thoughts on that, Staffy, as someone that's not only a Man United fan, but a big supporter of Sancho as well?
I'm tired of relying on broke people to help me out. Juventus, thank you for nothing. I was hoping you'd help me out. No, I'm tired, bro. Listen, just if you have broke people in your life, just don't count on them, unfortunately. They never bail you out, man. And that's what Juventus done to me. I didn't want him in the Premier League. I said, you know what? If he leaves, fair enough. Thiago Motta at Juventus, he's cooking something. It's probably going to make him look good. That system was good last year in Bologna. It's probably going to thrive there. So on his personal level, maybe he'll do well. At the same time, I don't get to have to do a swap with Chelsea. You know, I get to sell him outside the Premier League. I get to run up my cash, and then I could go and actually maybe buy someone on deadline day. But Juventus has been pretty useless. So thank you for nothing, Juventus. And yeah, you laugh at Lawless, but it's true. Like even listen, even Lawless, I was able to count on Lawless when I asked him for Aaron Wan-Bissaka to move. I was able to count on Napoli when I asked for McTominay to move. And then when I tried to count on Juventus, I got nothing, you know.
Thank you, by the way, for Wan-Bissaka. Thank you from the bottom.
We'll talk about that, bro. I'm tired of Wan-Bissaka. He's on every thumbnail of yours. This whole idea that he now is West Ham's version of Cafu. We'll talk about that later. Don't worry about it. The obsession is crazy with him. But yeah, it looks like he's gonna go to Chelsea. And I think what pissed me off the most, and Terry, I just sent you a link in the private chat. Apparently, Chelsea actually tried to offer Carney Chukwuemeka as a part of the negotiations, and United are unlikely to accept it. So it's a deal that I don't know, like, what am I getting? Am I getting cash? Am I getting Sterling? What am I getting? You know, and that's the worrying part. I just wanted cash from Juventus. Now I have to sit here and be at Chelsea's mercy. And I don't like that. I don't like that feeling. Now I have to sit here and see what happens. You know, but he needs to move anyways, and it's a good move for him. I just don't know how good that move is for us because it leaves us short-handed. We don't have enough good attackers to use this season. And I don't know if we'll have enough time to go and sign someone. So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing at the same time.
Yeah, look, I think if we're not going to use Sancho, so if we know forget what we've said publicly, if internally he's not kicking a ball, it makes sense to allow him to leave regardless. I can't change my energy to what I've said about Sterling at Chelsea. You can't have a player on that kind of money with that level of ability, with the presence that he has, not kick a ball all year, and then an element of animosity not be created. He's human. He will feel it, and he'll have friends in our dressing room that will feel it. So I understand the need and necessity essentially to move him on. I don't like the idea that it's a Premier League team because if it works, you know, it's going to be painful to see. However, you know, me and Neeks were talking about this earlier on today. Man United have got to focus on Man United here. If Chelsea get better and he's part of it, do you know what? So what? That doesn't scamper our progression. The facts of the matter are, whether it's Sancho's fault, the club's fault, or a combination of the two, it's irrelevant. Sancho has been a flop for us. We owe him, we're 30 to 35 million pound in debt to him through wages and bonuses owed. And there's talk of a loan with an obligation to buy being somewhere in the region of 20 to 25 million pounds, which means Chelsea could save us 50 million quid. Yes, we're not getting a replacement in now. But again, the Sancho deal I thought would have been okay in terms of someone that could score us a few goals. But Chelsea are not willing to give him enough of the 70 million pounds they owe him. And I would be frustrated as hell if we took in Sancho as his replacement and paid him 250, 300 grand a week. It made sense when we were offering 100,000 squad status. He's a backup player. But if that isn't doable, I would still rather fix this 30 million pound black hole in Sancho, keep reviewing the market, and in January or in the summer, have that cash available to improve our team, because Sancho hasn't worked for us. Keeping him here, I think, will be a bigger hindrance to our development and growth than not, because every 6 months longer he's here, what's he paid a year? He's paid about 18 million pound a year or something. So it's 9 million pound we lose, and his valuation gets less because his contract runs down. So for me, it isn't the best situation. I'm not annoyed at him. I'm annoyed at the situation that he ended up rejecting Juve for Chelsea when the early reports this week looked like he was picking Juventus. But look, they're going to give us some money. I
rejected Juventus. I thought it was a financial thing because they needed to make sales first.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. And I get that is what the reports say. My typical view, and Chelsea fans hated me saying this the other day and about Elise and whatever else. When clubs pull out, I feel it's because they know they can't get the player. If they were desperate for him and Sancho was like, all I want is Juve, they would have come to an arrangement. I think they're like, tough deal to get done. He wants Chelsea more than us. Let's just walk away so we don't suffer the embarrassment of a Liverpool-style rejection, which is so public and obvious. I'd very rarely trust any club, including Man United, by the way, when we do the whole we walked away. I typically feel you've been rejected by the player, but that's my view. But yeah, so I'm not the Carney thing. The Carney thing's interesting because technically as a player, I like him. But if you look at that young man's injury record, fucking hell. I didn't realize how bad it was. I think last season it was 5 injuries, multiple knee injuries. Season before that, multiple injuries. In the last, he's only 20 years old, but since 18 to 20 years of age, I think he suffered 7 or 8 injuries, and 3 of them have been for substantial periods of time. I like what he looks. I like the look of him as a player. Chelsea fans do as well. They raved about him when he came in and started playing. But I don't want to buy a crock. I don't want to buy someone who's good. Like, look at Mason Mount. Mason Mount, by the way, I think Carney's got more ability than Mason Mount. But Mason Mount's ability isn't even my issue at the moment. It's the motherfucker's availability. I don't want to buy another one from Chelsea or swap one from Chelsea who's just going to spend the season in the injury room. I just think that's crazy. As much as I'd love him to come to United and flourish and play regularly, because I think there's a really good midfielder in there. The man's body seems to be made of biscuits.
Yeah.
Mason Mount was just poor recruitment, because I was doing a stream yesterday with a Chelsea fan, and he was telling me when you looked at Mason Mount's injury record in the last 3 seasons, the amount of games he's missed for Chelsea, you could have seen that was his trajectory. Like it was just going downwards because of injuries. And he's like, the fact that no one caught onto that at United when we signed him, he's like, that's on the club. And to be fair, that's a very good point, because like he was decent for Chelsea. But you actually look at his injuries that he started picking up, like that hamstring injury, he was always picking up. That ankle injury that he had last season for us, that was new. He's never had ankle injuries. But you could just tell that his body's just breaking down consistently. And he's one of those, like, he reminds me a lot of what happened with us with Martial as an example, or with Rashford. Players that we played so much football in such a short time in their young career that eventually took a toll on their body at a young age. Like Martial became washed because of injuries at a very young age. Same thing for Rashford when we had him do the back surgery a couple years ago. It was still at a young age. So that was just poor recruitment. I got what you're saying about, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know much about his injury record, but the Mason Mount thing, I mean, that's a whole different conversation, because that signing has been absolutely disastrous. Like, it actually frustrated me yesterday when I saw it again. I was like, I just want the number 7 off this guy, even though I know he's not going anywhere. I was so angry. I was like, just take the number 7 off him until he comes back and we'll give him another number. That's how pissed off I was. That's his 5th injury in only his 2nd year. That's insane.
I don't remember him being that injury prone at Chelsea, like to this level. That's the mad thing. It seems to be like definitely more apparent at Man United. But to be fair, that was under the old regime you signed him. I'll be very interested in this window. Do you know what I mean? Under the new process, Dan Ashworth in Ineos, these signings are going to be very interesting to see how many of them are successful and how many in the season's time where you're looking at and going, oh my gosh, what were we thinking? Do you know what I mean? That's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of happy with Man United's window overall. I'm obviously the injury that happened to Lenny Yoro was frustrating and annoying. I've seen some United fans kicking off the day because Manuel Ugarte is not registered in time for Sunday's game, but it's almost like they don't read the rest of the report. He isn't fit to play, and I didn't think he would be, because he's missed so many. I don't think he's had many preseason games, hasn't played any of their matches so far this season. The last thing you want to do is start him against Liverpool, or even bring him on for 30 minutes and he twists funny, or he pulls an hamstring, pulls a groin, or even worse, like ruptures something like an Achilles or a knee. Let him. Hopefully, he doesn't even go on on an international. Hopefully, he spends 2 weeks at Carrington doing a bit of a mini preseason, maybe playing a practice game or two, so he's ready for the return. But overall, I'm really happy with what Man United have done. I like the idea of us today maybe picking up another attacker. But at the same time, if we can't find the right profile or the right player at the right money, I would still rather us wait. We were never going to fix all our problems in this first summer. And I don't believe, and I think me and Staffy kind of agree and disagree on certain signings. I think we agree, actually, say on Ugarte, but I just word it differently. I think Ugarte is a really good player. But I agree with him. He doesn't fix our midfield. He isn't the missing piece of the jigsaw. More signings are needed. Ironically, Carney is a player whose profile-wise could be really good for us. He's good passer, Really good skill, good power on the ball. He can sprint, he can carry. I'd love to sign a midfielder like that today. I would. And I'd be screaming for us to push for that deal if he hadn't had so many injuries in the last 2 years. I've just got a horrible gut feeling about signing him, and that's that he spends all his time out injured. And I don't want another Anderson. And some people might laugh at that, but Anderson, when he joined Man United, was wicked. And year after year after year, injuries just made that boy. In fairness, I don't think Carney's sitting there eating KFC every day and eating crisps and putting on weight.
Hey,
Carney
was a Golden Boy winner. Did people forget that?
He was. But it's mad, really, what he went through. Breaking news here. It says that Al. How do you actually pronounce that name, Staff? You want to say it right?
Well, I don't think you can pronounce it the way I would, but I would say El Ali.
El Ali, okay. Now proceeding to get Ivan Toney done after issues with the Napoli and Osimhen deal. That's a real interesting one. That is a real interesting one because I'm still a little bit confused. I'm not going to lie. With the Osimhen deal, I'm still really confused because Fabrizio gets accused of being in Chelsea's pocket. And I don't necessarily like the way people say those things, but he keeps saying it's in Chelsea's hands. But yet the offer that Chelsea have made has been outright rejected by Osimhen. I'm like, well, how can it be in your hands if the offer hasn't been accepted? Surely it's in your hands if Osimhen says, I'm happy to join for that money, and you've got to go and get the deal done with Napoli. But he doesn't want to take a pay cut of the 300,000+ he's on. He doesn't really want to go to Saudi. Chelsea haven't offered him enough money yet. He could end up staying at Napoli. I've seen reports saying he could stay at Napoli. He could still go to Saudi. He could be a Chelsea player. How do you see this one playing out, Lawless? Where do you think Victor Osimhen ends up playing his football next season? Because it feels like a deal's close, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think anybody can work out with whom.
Yeah, if it comes down to wage, how much did you say he was on, Osimhen?
Around 300,000 a week, maybe slightly more, maybe slightly less. It's around 300k a week, I believe.
I really can't see him at Chelsea. I think he'll stay because with Chelsea's new structure, they've massively been trying to lower the wage budget. That would smash it, at the moment. The Chelsea of old, previous Chelsea, where they would just come in and just bring a player, bang, you're on 350 a week. I'd see them doing that. But yeah, on those wages, I can't see it getting over the line. Same with Toney. Reports were he wanted massive wages, which seems to be why he's going to Saudi. That would have been a good signing for Chelsea. But yeah, he wanted a big payday. And everything about Toney just screams bad vibes to me anyways, as good a footballer as he is. So they've probably dodged a bullet there. But yeah, the Osimhen, I'm very surprised that Napoli are paying him that level of money. Do you know what I mean? That's something that you wouldn't be expecting from a club like them. Like in the Italian league, usually it's the Premier League that have been able to lure these players on big money. That's why we've been able to beat all them for signings. But yeah, man, on top of a hefty transfer fee, if it is that, I know everyone's doing these loans and obligation business, but if they've got a hefty transfer fee and a big wage, yeah, I don't know, man. He's not going to be there. If he wants to go to Saudi, that's the way he could get them wages. But like you said, it don't seem like he wants to go to Saudi. So depends on going to be who else is out there who can afford them wages. That's going to be the interesting thing.
How do you see it panning out, Steph?
Osimhen or Toney?
We'll start with Osimhen. Where do you see where do you think he ends up going?
Something is fishy about that guy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't like big name players in Europe when they're linked with a big club in Europe in a Saudi Arabian league, because the motives are different. You go to Saudi Arabian league for probably a better life, a better weather. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'd rather live in Saudi Arabia than the weather in England. He's gonna get a bag over there. We know he's gonna get more money than Chelsea. I don't want to call it a retirement league. It's really not, but it's a little bit more laid back. It's not as serious. It's not as competitive. Players, let's just be honest, players are going there to secure a bag. Whereas going to Chelsea, it's more of a project. It's more of a club trying to go back where they used to be. It's a new, I already used the word project, but it's a new team that's trying to build something with a new manager, a young crop of players, some decent players there. And the fact that Osimhen hasn't made a decision yet, I just don't know. Like, I question what his motive is. Obviously, there's a lot of logistics that happen within the deal to even go through, which is why it's taking this long. So I'm definitely not blaming it on him. But the fact that it's deadline day and it's the choices between Chelsea and Saudi Arabia just makes it a little bit weird for me. I feel like it should be a little bit more clearer by now. But if I make a prediction on where he's gonna go, I don't know. I don't really have. It's such a messy deal that I don't know. I'm just gonna guess that he's probably gonna go to Saudi Arabia. I'll be honest with you. I feel like the money's probably gonna be too much. And Chelsea, as Lawless mentioned, in the last few years, like with the new ownership, they haven't been offering that old money that Roman used to do. You know, so do I see him taking a pay cut to play for Chelsea when he's getting all that money offered him from Saudi Arabia? Probably not. I don't think so. You know, and I don't know. I don't think Chelsea will end up signing a striker today. I think the only deal they'll do today is probably going to be Sancho. And this is just a pure prediction. Like, I just, before people get mad and they're like, stop hating. I'm really not. If I'm putting out a prediction, I think that the Sancho deal is probably going to be the only deal that will get done. Because there's actually the willingness from United to sell Sancho. Whereas Osimhen, I don't know if he wants to actually come to the Premier League. And Tony, as we said, it looks like he's about to go to Saudi Arabia as well. So I don't think Chelsea will end up signing a striker today.
Most of what I've read says that Osimhen does want Chelsea. Most of the reports suggest that he wants to go there. I think the stumbling block is purely Chelsea have this wage structure, and their fans, it depends on what Chelsea fans you talk to. Some sort of believe that this kind of maximum of 150, 160 as a baseline contract. There are then incentives, you know, getting the Champions League, win titles. They get bonuses that increase that salary. But I just don't think, and it's one of the interesting things, when you look at superstars or players in high demand, I think that Chelsea have signed some good players this year. João Felix is not the João Felix in terms of his demand as 3 years ago. Pedro Neto, not in that category. Nor is Dewsbury Hall or Tosin. And to a degree, nor is Sancho, because Sancho's gone Dortmund, they don't want him. Man United don't want him. Juve have come in, but Chelsea are obviously offering him a better deal than Juve are. It isn't like he's got people beating down his door, Jadon Sancho, saying, we'll pay you 400 grand a week to be one of our main attackers, you know. But Osimhen is demanding big money. He believes that he's of that level and ilk. And one of the sort of big talking points with Chelsea was, can you attract the star names who are at the peak of their powers, or at even if you think they're a hype job, at the peak of someone's hype, they still get paid good money. So it doesn't matter what you think about him. That's where Osimhen is. So I'm intrigued to see whether they can convince him to be part of their new wage structure. I think they need him as much as I think Jadon Sancho could be a good addition. I still think they need a bagsman. I still think they need somebody that is more prolific up front. And I thought and a couple of days ago, it was looking like Osimhen was the main guy, and the likes of Ivan Toney and even Duran were like the backup options. They don't appear to be anywhere to be seen now. So I still think there'll be an element of Chelsea fans that will be disappointed if they finish this summer without a top striker having come in. But if they land Sancho, I think overall it still has been a very, very good summer for them. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see where my gut says if he doesn't accept Chelsea's offer, I think he stays at Napoli. I think he stays at Napoli.
No, because they got Lukaku. No way they're keeping him. He has to move. Yeah,
but then if he doesn't accept terms with clubs who aren't willing to pay him $350 a week, how are they going to get rid of him? Like, if he physically don't want to take this stuff.
But he has to be smart enough to know that he has to go. Conte, I don't think Conte rates him like that. Conte wanted Lukaku and he got Lukaku. You know, I think Napoli and their owner have always been ruthless. He probably knows, like, don't waste our time because we don't want you this year. You know, it's time for you to move on. It's time for us to cash on you. You know, that's what I think is going on right now. I just don't know where he's going to go. Like, he has to go somewhere today. There's no way he doesn't. Like, it would be insane to me if the window closes today. What, the window closes in how many hours? 7 hours?
About 6 hours. About six
7 hours.
Yeah.
If in 6-7 hours he's not a club, I'll be highly shocked. I'll be highly shocked.
Like Terry was saying, it's not in Chelsea's hands, but it is in his hands. It's in his hands. He has to decide what he wants, and maybe, like you said, there could be a deal being struck where okay, we stretch to 200,000 a week, but like you said, bonuses. Like if he can accept that and maybe a signing on fee, they can work around it that way. Then a deal can be struck. But it depends how flexible he really wants to be and how much, he does or doesn't want to play in the Premier League. I mean, that's going to be the interesting thing. But it doesn't seem like there's a load of other, apart from Saudi, doesn't seem like there's a load of other clubs desperately trying to sign him. That's the problem.
Fabrizio said Ivan Toney's paperwork. Ivan Toney's one so interesting because, again, I rate Ivan Toney, but I think you have to be dispassionate when it comes to these conversations. No one's really made a move for him this summer. At least with Osimhen, people have offered him things, but the fact that nobody has made a move for him, unless I've missed a report or two, is actually mad. I thought a lot more people would have come in for him. I thought a lot more people would have tried to sign him. That just hasn't happened in any way, shape, or form. And I think there's a message in that. When you think he was available for around 40-odd million, Solanke's been sold as an example. Man United went for Xerxes. Arsenal need a goal scorer, and we're going to get onto Arsenal soon. They haven't signed any attacker of any note, and they didn't go for him. Now, I don't believe the reports per se that it's because he's got a bad attitude. I have a gut feeling the bigger clubs don't think he's as good as we, the fans, think he is. I actually think that's more likely. But the reason I say that is when he returned to Brentford after the Euros, did you see the scenes and the ovation and the way his manager and his club and his teammates embraced him? Plus, when you go and watch some of the content that England put out during the Euros and look at his relationship with the Declan Rices, and there was nothing about him I looked at and thought, I mean, he's a good-looking geezer, and sometimes good-looking men can be confused as arrogant men because of for what reason, but there wasn't a single element where I thought, bad egg, arrogant, a bit strange, a little off-key. Every time I've seen him, barring the video with the girl, but even then, I understand. He was he was out there just trying to. What's the word we used when I was younger? He was out there trying to chirps, and sometimes when you're chirping, you say things you don't really mean. You just messed up. But I think
Terry, would you, if someone said, right, sound camera, fuck Man United, up the city, or come on Liverpool or something, would you do it?
I wouldn't at 38 years of age. 100%. I wouldn't do it at 38 years old. But I'm a 38-year-old man. I'm a 38-year-old man. And look, 10 years ago, everyone, if you watch my content 10 years ago, I was beefing on the internet with people, ripping into people for this and that and the other. I look back on it and it was one of the most embarrassing little periods of my life. If I don't like another YouTuber, I don't talk about them. If I don't like how somebody's thumbnails look, I don't talk about it. I don't behave in that way. But when I was in my early mid-20s, which he was at the time of that video, if I was out and a stunning woman was like, record on here and say, screw Man United and say City are the best and me and you might have a fun night together, I probably would have done it because I was a young man and you don't always think with that head, do you, when you're young? And I don't hold that. I get why the fans of Brentford might be annoyed. But like I've said, everyone at Brentford loves him. The manager, the board, the players. If he cancelled the deal now and stays, there's nobody at Brentford that's angry. That doesn't sound to me like somebody with an attitude problem personally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one for me because I always got an off vibe. Maybe it's his lack of passion for the game. Maybe we had Andy Carroll, and it was always said that he didn't really like football. He just had natural gifts that lent itself to football. And
it was the fullback at Spurs that was like that, was it? Not chip emoting. There was a fullback. Aswakoto. I swear he said
Benoit Aswakoto, the Cameroonian.
He basically said if he can make more money doing something else, he'd basically quit football tomorrow. There must be a lot of footballers like that. I reckon there's a good percentage who they like football, they work hard at it to a certain degree because they make money.
Ben White is one of them.
Ben White could be one of them. I think if someone turned around to Ben White and said, look, we'll pay you 3 times as much as Arsenal do to be an Instagram model, maybe you'd take it.
He said he doesn't watch football. He said football's a job for him. He doesn't enjoy watching football.
Maybe that's the thing. He just doesn't seem hungry or what. Because look, he's been bagging goals for Brentford, right? He must be he must be good enough. Like you look at him and you look at Solanke. Solanke had, you know, he played for Liverpool. He's been tested at that level, and he wasn't great. Did really good for Bournemouth. You look at Tony, he's untested at that level, and you think, wow, win a Chelsea or an Arsenal. Well,
He was a child, though, Lawless. That's unfair to talk about Solanke.
Okay, it's but I'm just saying, like, if you look at the two players side by side, Tony looks quality. There's no
I'll give you an example, though. When Man United, and this was probably back 2010 or 2011, when we signed Ashley Young. If you go back and look at the statistics and watch the seasons, Ashley Young, 2 seasons running, I think was the most creative player in the Premier League in terms of chances created, big chances created. He scored some goals. He looked really threatening for Villa. As soon as he joined Man United, his numbers diminished. Not because his quality wasn't the same. You could argue part of that was pressure. But nobody at that particular time was playing low block. Nobody at that time was doubling up on him as a fullback. In fact, he had one player marking him, and often there was loads of space to run into, a lot more time to cross the ball. And I think I would, again, the amount of interviews that the likes of Sky Sports and TNT Sports do with players, but I never feel like they ask them good enough questions regularly enough. And I would love to speak to a player like Ashley Young. What did you feel the difference was? And sometimes they may not even thought about it, but question it and delve into it. Maybe that's the issue with Tony, that these clubs are saying, we think he's a really good footballer, but how is he going to cope? For instance, Arsenal, 95% of the teams they play are going to sit behind the ball, give him no space. Maybe there's an element of, for the salary they would have to pay him and the money that he wants, they feel it's too big a risk because there isn't enough data that he can play like that. And interestingly enough, if he'd have got more bloody game time for England in the summer just gone, which he should have done, maybe we'd have got those answers. But I think I just feel it's football reasons that he's not being picked up by the bigger clubs as opposed to attitude personally. But that's just my
probably a bit of the wage demands. Probably a bit of the wage demands. Maybe. If you're feeling out and, like, you know, there's talk coming on of how much he wants, and no club would be prepared to pay anywhere near what he wants, then there's probably no point even wasting time negotiating for him. Do you know what I mean? If you're getting them noises. So yeah, it's a shame for him. I think, you know, he's going to Saudi. Like, it's good life, like Staffy said, but I think it's a waste of his talents. You know, really, it's like China. You know, it's like a retirement home. You know, go and catch a check and chill out. Like, it's a shame.
It is, but at the same time, he's not young like Oscar was. What's he, 28, 29 now, Tony? Or am I aging him too much? So you might look at it and think, I mean, you got to look at Osimhen's deal as well. Osimhen's deal that he was offered had like a 60 million release clause in it, which still meant a big European club next summer could buy him. So let's see what Tony does. Yeah, let's see how he gets on out there. But, you know, even if Tony only does a year, he's still probably going to earn more in a year in Saudi than he does in the next 5 years at any Premier League club. And I don't begrudge working class people going to get their money. I just can't. You know, they can create, you know, some of these players can create generational wealth for themselves. Most came from very poor, underprivileged working class backgrounds. I think that's a mad percentage, like 85 to 90% of all footballers from across the world come from working class backgrounds. So fair play.
Yeah, all the middle class are playing rugby. So
yeah. There's I mean, typically football is, especially in Europe anyway, is a very working class sport. Opposite in America, of course. Hang on, update here just come through. Victor Osimhen has been really angry with Napoli in recent hours. He's proposed transfer to Chelsea is looking very difficult, and now he doesn't think it will happen. A last-ditch solution is being worked on. That comes from Italian sources. And French and Italian sources. That one's, sorry, from a French source at L'Equipe that claim that Victor Osimhen is fuming. He's annoyed, but I don't quite get it. Why is he annoyed at Napoli if it's Chelsea's contract offer that he is rejected? I'm only going by what the Fabrizios have told us from a Chelsea perspective. That's Chelsea. You should, again, maybe I'm misunderstanding as Chelsea fans.
So that has to be
Please educate me. I feel like, again, I like Fabrizio Romano, but I feel like the way he's worded some of his tweets around it's all on Chelsea. Chelsea control this. I'm sitting again, but how do they control it if Osimhen hasn't agreed to their terms? That doesn't sound like control to me personally. That what they do control is offering him what he wants, but the report says they're not going to do that. So I'm very confused. And
then if he is pissed at Napoli, then that suggests that he wants to go Chelsea, and they have agreed something, and it's Napoli holding it back, like that report. So the reports are kind of contradicting each other at the moment.
Yeah, someone's waffling. It's either the Italian and French sources, or I don't know. Something isn't adding up.
Deals here says you're sounding scared. It's not about being scared. Listen, if you sign Osimhen, you know me, bro. I'll praise it and say what a great deal. Always with every deal, it's on paper, it's potential. I'll say I won't slag it off. I won't do a U-turn on how good I think Victor Osimhen could be in the Premier League. What I'm saying is the stories from Italy and France don't match what's being said in the UK or from Fabrizio. And what Fabrizio is saying genuinely confuses me. I don't understand how he isn't saying it's all on Chelsea. The deal will be done if they make the player an offer that he deems acceptable. They're saying that it's on Chelsea, but Osimhen has to accept their offer. That doesn't, again, the way I'm reading it, that's all I'm saying, bro. But it's a great deal if you get it done. Coping, Napoli last-minute offer to Liverpool, to Arsenal, Vamus. Do you guys think Arsenal are going to do anything? Because they were linked this morning with Kingsley Coman, and that deal was deemed as on earlier today. But just before we went live, it has been announced that Arsenal will not be pursuing him. They will also not be looking to strike a deal for Raheem Sterling as well. Ornstein has actually said, we know Arsenal love Nico Williams. He would be Arteta's top choice by a mile. But it looks as goes, but this is not PlayStation or Football Manager. A few other reports have said that Kingsley Coman won't happen now, and the deal for Raheem Sterling is seen as too complicated to complete before the deadline. How disappointing do you think this is for Arsenal? They haven't signed so far any new attacker, even a backup, to bolster their front line.
They should be disappointed. I saw weird tweets from them yesterday saying tomorrow we expect the signing of Neto and a surprise striker. And I looked at it, I was like, what do you think this is? The Royal Rumble? What do you mean a surprise striker? That only happens in WWE. Number 30, and then just a surprise entry enters. It's not how football works. What do you mean a surprise striker? We know who you're linked with, and it doesn't look like you're gonna get any of them. Sterling, you're not gonna get. Osimhen, you're not gonna get. And Nico Williams, you're not gonna get. That's it. I think their summer is concluded. They got Neto, and that's it. By the way, how many summers have they winning and they signed a goalkeeper? It's every summer, I swear, they sign a new goalkeeper. What is it with them and signing goalkeepers? Every year, a new goalkeeper. Give it up with the goalkeepers. Seriously. We sat here on the terrace all summer arguing, do they need a striker or do they need a winger? And at the end of the day, they just sign a goalkeeper and that's it. Like, what is actually going on at this club right now?
You know what the maddest thing is? This goalkeeper's cup tied for the Carabao now because he played against us on Wednesday night. And they went and signed the cup tie for the second.
That's a good point. I forgot that.
So Raya's going to have to play in the Carabao. Madness.
No, it's insane. Listen, I don't know. I understand the frustration now. I saw the most positive Arsenal fans actually tweet today, say it's not good enough. And that's the positive ones. I'm not even talking about the regulars that usually like are called negative. I'm like, you could tell that they're not happy with it. The Sterling one, I will be honest, it wouldn't be the best thing in the world, but I'd understand it. Like it wouldn't be the worst signing in the world. Like having Sterling as a backup to Saka or to rotate with Martinelli, that would have been the worst signing in the world. It really isn't, you know? So I was like, you know what? Fair enough. It's an opportunity that came their way. Someone who's actually worked with Arteta, because Sterling obviously had him when he was the assistant coach over there. Someone who's won. He's still 29. I'm like, you know what? Not the worst thing in the world. Probably going to take low wages too. But the fact that they're going into the season with no new attackers, not necessarily striker, I'm just talking about at least wingers, it's insane. Because Merino now is injured, so that signing is going to feel like it didn't exist until he comes back, obviously. So you're going to the new season with Calafiori, basically, as your main signing. And I'm not going to lie, that's not good enough. And listen, I'm tired of the chat. Every time I speak, Stavi, speak about your club. This is straight facts, brother. I'm here to talk about all clubs, okay? Let's not sit here and pretend that I have a lot of positive to say about my club anyways, because I get called the Grinch all the time every time I speak about my club. So stop crying every time I mention that your club is not doing what's good enough. What Arsenal did this summer is not good enough. Stop crying. Stop whining. You want to win the league next year, and you're going into the season with Neto, Merino, and Calafiori, and you didn't bluster your attack. It is not good enough. When you go into certain games and Martinelli is running head down, running out of bounds again because he can't stop running before the byline, you're going to be sitting there going to be like, I wish we signed a winger. When you're not scoring goals in bigger games, even though I don't really think they needed a striker, but when you're looking at it and you can't score a goal during a game because it's a tough game, you're going to be like, you know what? I wish I went and I got something different this summer. I wish I went and got something better than Reece Nelson. I wish I went and got something better than Gabriel Jesus because he's injured again. And it's not good enough. It's just simply not good enough. You can delude yourselves to think it's good enough, but it's really not.
Yeah, it's a madness. Like going into this summer, I think there was a lot of optimism from Arsenal fans, and rightly so. You know, you think that the team that they had last year, you know, oh man, if we can really go out and bolster this squad, like that could get us over the line. But it seems all of this spending that Arteta's had over the past few years has started to catch up with Arsenal. You know, we've seen them, you know, not really been able to go and sign the players that they wanted. And then trying to sell players. I don't know if the Nketiah thing's been finalized, but they've let like Smith Rowe go. If Nketiah goes, I think I
forgot about Nketiah. That's actually a very good point, Lawless. Yeah. Because I know he's not good enough, but you actually took something that's not good enough, and now you have absolutely nothing. Like something that might not be good enough is better than nothing. You have zero, zilch. There's no backup striker now. So what do you do?
And yeah, and that's the thing. So they get a couple of injuries in certain positions. Like I said, they're going on multiple fronts. The Champions League is a longer format, more games now. It's gonna be seriously tough for them, honestly. So they have to hope that they keep players fit. And I just feel like this squad needed an injection of freshness in it. You know, sometimes that's what it's about, bringing in some new talent. You know, exciting, but they haven't been able to do it. I understand why Arsenal look at Chelsea and way they're doing business and feel aggrieved, because boy, like they're, you know, still signing player after player, and Arsenal are here going like, what? Why can't we do that? Why are we having to sell all of these players? Happy birthday!
They're saying happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
You want to listen? Okay, there we go. You want to hear it? There we go. You can hear me.
Yeah, happy birthday. Hope you have a good day. Hope you enjoy the farm.
Thank you.
There we go. All right, well, I'll be outside soon. Oh, you want to listen as well, Jackson? Okay, there you go. There you go.
What's that? He said Arsenal aren't winning the league. Arsenal was shit. Right, great.
There we go. Right, I'll see you all in a bit. All right.
Cook Jackson's chat. He was this in your club, mate.
And my dogs come in and see me as well. They're all here. Right. See you in a bit.
Oh, I thought you put the earphones on the dog. Jackson.
No, my son's Jackson. My dog's Rocky.
I would have thought otherwise. Oh, Jesus.
No. I didn't do that. I'm one of those. I'm very familiar with my dog, but I don't humanize him that much, if that makes sense. Although when I'm out walking him, I do have conversations with him like he understands me. Yeah. Why did you do that for? And then he looks at me. I do think he understands to a certain degree. Look, listen, I do agree with a lot of what you both said. I think that Calafiori is a very good deal. The Merino injury, the timing is the worst it could have been, because it's on the deadline day where it looks like they're not signing an attacker. And insult being added to injury is that then the other new signing gets injured. It's a shoulder injury. They're saying he's out for weeks. No one really knows what that means. I've seen clubs say a player's out for weeks, and you think, okay, 3 weeks he's back, and then 8 weeks later he's still out, because shoulder injuries can be bad. Hopefully it isn't a bad one for him. They have upgraded, you know, over the last few years. They've upgraded on Tim. They've upgraded like Cedric with Timber. They've upgraded El Neni with Merino. They have upgraded Zinchenko and Tomiyasu, I believe, with Calafiori. But where is the upgrade on Smith Rowe, the upgrade on Eddie Nketiah, the upgrade on Reece Nelson? I think that, listen, they're still going to be in the title race, Arsenal, and they can still win the Premier League. They can still do those two things. But I felt like they had an opportunity. Man City, yes, they brought Gundogan back, which will be very good. They've got Savinho. But City didn't have this potent summer. There was talk a few months back of Bruno Guimaraes and Kimmich and a star striker coming in and a new top winger. there was a lot of that talk. They had an opportunity, in my opinion, Arsenal, to go out and break the bank for Nico Williams because they want him. He's the number one target. They've had the opportunity to look at Osimhen. They've had an opportunity that even if it's a backup player, there are options out there that could have been purchased this summer, and they haven't gone and got it done. And look, if Arsenal don't win the league, it is no skin off my nose in any capacity. I still think they could have a very, very, very good season. So I'm not doing. I've seen a few gooners online today. It's over. The season's finished. It's going to fall apart. And yes, of course, I'll get the. It's the Arsenal terrace. But you're a Chelsea fan. I've praised your summer as well. What does that mean then? But I can't sit there and say, a few weeks ago, I felt Arsenal went out and they got Merino and they went and got a top attacking talent in. I looked at them as potentially the marginal favourites for the league this year. Now, they're in the run-in, but I just don't think they've done enough. They may find become the end of the season, they just quite haven't done enough. And look, they might end up next summer bringing in Alexander Isak. And they might win the league, and then they sign Isak, and this conversation looks a little bit stupid. But even if it isn't spending 80, 90, 100 million pounds, surely there are options. Eze available for 50 million. Neto is available for around 50 million. As an example, there have been players out there in the market at reasonable prices, reasonable salaries that could have moved the needle for that bench, given them an extra string to their bow. And I do think Arsenal should have moved in that area. As good as a team as I think they are, as much as they've improved, as brilliant as they've looked at the beginning of this season, I still think they should have added to that front line in one way, shape, or form. They surely had to, in my opinion. They surely had to.
You gotta separate yourself a little bit more from City and Pep Guardiola. If you're telling me both squads are close, I'm still going for whatever team is being coached by Pep Guardiola.
I hear
That's
you.
how brilliant this guy is. And this is why when you make a very good point that City, I feel like we're there for the taking this summer because they sold players, bar maybe obviously Savinho who came in and we all know he was coming in, bar the Gundogan signing, they didn't really do anything significant. So that means you would have had a better chance to go into this season with a better squad. Go get yourself another attacker. Go get yourself maybe a striker, as everyone's been saying. Whatever it is, I feel like this would have been the chance to actually have that bench looking a lot better than what City have. And maybe, just maybe, if you just have that extra separation between you and City in terms of the quality of the squad, that might be enough to win the league. Because if you're telling me both our squads are equal, I'm fancying the one that Pep is managing. Because he's that brilliant. I don't want to go into a season having a squad that's just good enough as Pep's. No, I want a squad that's better than Pep's. Because that's how I can beat Pep. Because Pep could beat me with a worse squad, let alone a squad that's just equal as mine. Because we've seen him, by the way. I know he only has one striker in Haaland. People saying what happens when he gets injured again. I've seen this guy win the league with a false nine. He won the league without a striker. So it's not like this is new to him. He came out today. He was like, all right, F it. He said, I don't need a long squad. I don't know why he said it 3 times. It was weird. But I fancy him to do anything with that squad more than this Arsenal squad. I'm sorry. That was their chance. And
I listen. And if Arsenal get to January and they're leading the league, they're a point behind, they've had a great run, and then they add the attacker and they go on to win the league, then again, no harm done.
Can you see that happening, where they get?
Potentially. Look, I think it's just as likely that they get to January and are anywhere between a point or two clear to a point or two behind. I think that's just as realistic as them being. It's probably more realistic than them being 8, 9, 10 points behind by the January window. But they don't want to be in that position, because then what you do is you create a foundation for the negativity. You create a foundation for the doubt and the frustration, and some of it will be valid at that point. If they fail to win 3 or 4 games between now and then, and it's because they haven't had enough strength in the attack, people are going to be fuming. They really are. And I do understand the criticism. I do. What I will say is that they are still a team that's going to be, in my opinion, will challenge for the Premier League title. That they really are. What they've got to hope for now, Arsenal fans, is that Martinelli does find that form. that Martinelli does get back to that season of 2 years ago. I think that's going to be really, really, really important for them indeed. If they want to win the Premier League this year, which is what they're being judged on. But I am surprised. I am really, really
scary, though, Terry. And if not, who's the scary team this year? We all want to know.
Well, City always. City always. Do you know what I love about the scary thing, right? The amount of people that for 2 YouTubers who have slagged me off for 2 years for saying it. Some of them it's not even been about because it's about Arsenal. Some of them, I've worked with some of them. Bro, why are you saying men are scared? I'm like, any man who's getting necky over the word scared tells me you're a little bit scared of things, bro. You know, a little bit like one doth protest too much. But look, I think in terms of my kids touch my lights behind me. I know my wall looks a different color now. Arsenal is still again, from a Man United perspective, from my point of view, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, they're the 3 scary teams. They are the 3 title contenders. They are the 3 best teams in the league, in my opinion, as of right now. The 3 most, they will be the 3 most consistent teams in the league again this year, in my opinion. So I understand the frustration from Arsenal fans. Some people, they're scorching earth. They're throwing baby out with the bathwater again. They're going to be fuming. They're going to be angry. They're going to say nothing will come of this. And they may end up being right. But what I believe they're doing is they are flinging that, you know, sometimes you you ever gone to a zoo and seen like a monkey like shit in its hand and throw it at a wall, right? Sometimes you do that and some of it sticks. Essentially, your old-fashioned saying, you throw enough shit, some of it sticks. You might get something right in that. Equally, I think the Arsenal fans saying it's all okay. There will be no problems. This is not an issue whatsoever. I also think you're doing exactly the same thing, just at the other end of the spectrum. You're chatting nonsense. It isn't great that you didn't buy someone in that position. You could at least be honest about that. But I do think that most Arsenal fans are in that middle area from, I'm annoyed. I back the boys, but I'm annoyed. Or I'm really happy with the 2 signings we made, but we really should have added one more to go to that next level. I think that's how most Arsenal fans think. I think there are 2 extreme spectrums that we all maybe focus on too much, where it's the end of the world. We'll never win anything again. We should burn the club down, right to the other end, which is, I can't say nothing negative ever about this club, but you're not an Arsenal fan if you do, you know. And I think that those 2 things are crazy in my.
I understand why Arsenal can't come out and say to the fans, "Look, we've got FFP worries," because obviously then it's going to affect their ability in the transfer window. But maybe after the window shuts, some sort of communication, because I think that has to be the reason. It can't be that they just had a load of money to sign players and they just fumbled it that badly. It has to be restrictions on profit and sustainability in FFP, surely.
Propaganda Machine says, why should we not be angry when we're close to winning the league? I'm not saying, I didn't say you couldn't be angry. When does that come out of my mouth? When does that come out of my mouth? What I'm saying is, I think it's extreme to be angry about it, shit on all the other signings you've made, start calling multiple people at your club pejoratives, calling anybody that isn't as angry as you nasty names. I'm talking about that level of anger. I think is over the top. Equally, the people that are showing no emotion. So this isn't about me taking sides. Well, I am taking a side with the people in the middle who are angry you haven't bought somebody extra, but are still looking at a wider picture and are happy with other areas. I don't understand why we have to look at this from a polarized angle of I'm either not bothered at all or I'm completely fuming at every aspect of the club because of this. I think both of those things are extreme. So yes, I'm not saying you can't be annoyed, because I would be. But there's a different. I would have been annoyed. I'd be annoyed if we signed an injury-prone, over-the-hill player today. But it doesn't mean that would undo everything else that we've done this summer that I've been happy with. Layered, critical thinking, in my humble opinion. Super Chat here says, watch them start gaslighting Nelson and Eddie again, is what Joshua Jack says here. Usually disagree with Staffy, but majority facts here is what Mr. Big Piece.
Congrats, Staffy.
Says, congratulations.
I don't know if I wanted validation from someone called Mr. Big Piece, but I guess
Staffy, why are you so insecure about it? He's not saying he wants to show you his big piece. He just does his name.
No, it's that.
Why are you insecure?
It's like imagine you're telling a story. You're like, you know who agreed with me today, Mr. Big Piece. It just doesn't sound right.
You bring up that tell your family, oh, Mr. Big Piece, he agreed with me on straight facts.
Print off the comment and stick it on your fridge, like, you know what I mean, when you're at school. Not looking good, Edu. Very disappointing today, is what Manny says. I understand that, Manny. Coping, Napoli last minute. Oh, listen, if Arsenal went and pulled something like that off, it would be amazing. When was the last time we had a ridiculous final day of the season where you've gone, wow, look what I can't remember the last one.
Was it Ozil? Was Ozil a last day deadline day thing?
I don't think he was a deadline day.
No,
thing,
I don't know if he was deadline day. He might have been. I can't remember.
I think it was a late signing. I just don't remember if it was deadline. You don't really look at Arsenal and you remember deadline day.
No,
like,
but I'm talking in general.
You know?
I mean, you had Cavani to Man United was pretty good. Oh, by the way, the young lad that says the there we land, he's working on Sky Sports today. Bless him. He had so much stick and so much hate when he first said that. It
was deadline day. Huh.
It was deadline day. Okay, there we go. I didn't remember. Never forget the Sado drama. Chelsea love the publicity of a big story and grabbing all the headlines. They will work it out at the death, and they could do that. There's no doubt. It's the same Saudi club for both of them, and then only one slot left, which looks like Tony, pointing to either Chelsea or staying at Napoli. I hear you there.
That's a good point.
Joshua here says, if time, but what is your guys' favorite player? We know yours, Terry Beckham, but what's your favorite players at the moment, gentlemen? Right now, who's your favorite players in the world? Your favorite player?
Oh,
we know Simon Bissaka just said already.
Yes, yeah.
Shouldn't have took you that long to think of it.
Apart from Kudus, but yeah, Wan-Bissaka at the moment. Thank you once again, Staffy, for pushing that through. You really did your bit. Thank you,
man. All right, man.
Oh, updates, right? Breaking news from Fabrice Hawkins. Chelsea's latest offer to Victor Osimhen, 155 euros per week, rejected by the player. Chelsea delegation in Napoli has reported still trying to convince him with no agreement he will stay in Italy. So they've only offered him, I mean, that's euro. So to put that into pounds as an example, they've offered him £130,000 a week, which is somewhere between, you're talking almost half what he earns now. Like, he's never accepting that.
That's a piss take. Like, if their wage cap or their limit is around £150,000 of what they're paying players, why would you offer him? Like, you would say, come in and we'll be one of our top earners. He's not even going to be one of their top earners. So how serious are they? Really and truly. They're not serious. They're not getting him. If that's how they're going, they're not getting him. It's not happening. That's a joke. It's a lot of money, but for the average person, but the guy that's on 350k, you're coming and going, yeah, come in and not be one of our highest.
He's going to Saudi, bro. I don't think this deal is going to happen.
You think he'll choose to go Saudi?
Yeah, because I just don't get, like, Chelsea fans have been telling me now for the past couple of years how their wage bill has changed and how their big contracts, they're only big because they put them out on like a lot of years. So it's like you don't get more than like 150, whatever it is. Like, it's smaller wages within the week, but it's longer term contracts, and that's how these contracts are big money, but throughout longer time. I don't look at how Osimhen could fit that. He's just not a part. Like, Osimhen's coming in. Like, if they're serious about winning something and they need goals, Osimhen's like, all right, I'm coming there. What if they're telling you, hey, listen, we'll put you on like little wages because we're trying to do a youth project or whatever? It's gonna be like, why would I be there? Like, I got more money being offered from Saudi.
Yeah,
you know, it doesn't make sense.
This was always the one challenge to that structure that I had is, will it be enough to sign the biggest and the best players? Will it be okay? Equally, what doesn't help Chelsea is other players that are on those long-term contracts, 2 years in, are already being told you're going to be phased out the football club. Think about leaving. You're not going to get minutes. The problem that you've got is that, well, hang on a minute. I joined here on an 8-year deal. I've said I'll take less per week, but spread it over 8 years. So that I'm earning what I would get in a normal 4-year deal. But 2 years in, you're getting rid of me. And I'm not going to, I've potentially lost, 18, 20, 30, 40 million pound by doing this long-term deal with you. And I think that again, I think it works with a lot of the young up and coming players they've bought. And I think it's a great structure for those individuals. But I think when you look at Victor Osimhen with his goal return, how good he's been in Napoli, how brilliant he was in that title winning season, and the quality that, again, I think he possesses. And if people don't rate him, then disregard what I'm saying. But I just don't think you're getting him for 130 grand a week. That means he's on less than Tosin.
Make it make sense. I don't
it doesn't make sense.
I was going to look at Chelsea's salaries now just to make sure that someone told me Tosin was on 160 a week. I don't know if that's true. Maybe he's on less. But if he come, according to this website I'm on, Tosin is on 120 a week, right? So he'd only be on 10,000 more a week than Tosin. He'd be on less than Caicedo, less than Cucurella, less than, and Nkunku's on 195. Endo Fernandez on 180. Wesley Fofana's on 200k. Reece James 250. Obviously, Raheem Sterling and Ben Chilwell being phased out. They're on more money. I mean, Carney, that Man United were spoken about, is on 100k a week. Levi Colwell's on 100k a week. Mark Guiu, again, I'm getting this off of Sports Rack website. So other websites it might change slightly. Mark Guiu's on 100. Again, if Mark Guiu and Mihajlo Mudryk on 100 grand a week, you can't be offering Victor Osimhen 130,000. And think you're going to get him. I just don't think he's going to accept. That's why I said earlier, I don't get this notion it's in Chelsea's hands if they offer the player what he's worth and what he wants. Outside of that, having said that though, if he really, this is where it could work for Chelsea. So let's look at it from the other side.
Oh, Fabrizio tweeted about Tony saying the deal is completed between.
So that fits in perfect. So if Ivan Toney goes to Saudi and that's off for Osimhen, and he desperately doesn't want to stay at Napoli, maybe Chelsea are pulling the master stroke. Maybe they get him for 130 grand a week because it ends up being all that's available to him.
Is he that desperate that he takes a 220 pound or euro wage cut, right? Is he that desperate, or is he thinking, cool, I'll just chill on the bench and collect my 350 bags a week? Like, I'm him.
Mate, I hear ya.
The principle of it, he should reject that. Like you said, if he's not one of the top earners, all them people are earning before him, he should just go, don't ever call
me. I've looked at 3 different websites and they've got 3 different amounts. It ranges on these websites from 240 to 300,000 pound a week Victor Osimhen's on. So let's go with the conservative amount of 240. It's still a 90,000 pound a week pay cut. I know there's incentives if they win and they do well, but listen, it's an interesting game they're playing. But look, I will say this. If Chelsea pull this off at 130,000 pound a week, you could argue it's one of the best contract negotiations in the history of the Premier League. Like, to give credit.
I'd investigate that. I would be saying there's some sort of dodginess, man. That if they do that, there's no way it's legit. There's no way. I don't trust them.
What you think they're paying him off the books?
Yes.
Yeah, like they're playing under the table or something. Come on, Lawless. You better
to avoid the FFP. That's what I'd be suspicious of, right? Because how? That's just ridiculous to get him on that price. So yeah, I'll be looking very, very closely because they've just sold some goalkeeper that they signed a goalkeeper from this club. And then he played like 25 minutes for them, and they've sold him back to that club for like a profit. And it's their sister club. Like, how? I just don't understand how Chelsea gets away with what they get away with. Madness.
The thing is, they've done nothing. They've done nothing that's against the rules. That's the thing with Chelsea.
Lola's just hating right now.
But why can't everyone else do this? Like, why is it?
But you don't. But you don't have a sister club, do you?
No, we don't. But you do, right?
That's true.
Matt, you couldn't even sign Todibo. You weren't allowed to sign Todibo. They're allowed to do all of this.
That's because we're in the same competition. That's not because of.
Yeah, it's only because of that.
Yeah. So ironically, if Nice would have had a bad year as they had the previous 3 or 4, it would have been okay. But because they had a decent season,
Newcastle were blocked from trading with their sister club, right?
Who's their sister club?
I can't remember who it was, but I know that they. Who is it? Newcastle. I'll quickly check it, but I remember that they were blocked from being basically trading and selling players with them. That was one thing they tried to do.
Rooney in here says incentivized contracts. He could earn a comparable amount with easily reachable milestones. The quick listen. What you've said there makes sense, but there's 2 things I would point out. One, Are they easily reachable? And does he believe they're easily reachable? What if he gets injured? What if he misses 6 months of the season with a bad knee injury and doesn't achieve his milestones? From his perspective, 100 grand a week, he could lose over the course of a season, he could lose £5 million in a year. Secondly, in life, and I don't know what you do with yourself, Rooney, I'd love to find out. I've done jobs when I was younger in the sales world, both in the financial world and in kind of the sort of retail world, where my basic was dead low, but commission was really good. And when you're young and you're up and coming, you do that. But there comes a point in your career where you've had some promotions and suddenly your base is higher. You are far more reluctant, if in all ever willing, to go back to a job where the basic is almost non-existent and the bonus is good, because you've got that baseline structure there. So if you're a player that's been on 250, 300 a week, and that is what your life has now become used to, saying I'm going to go to a new team who are not in the best position in the world right now. Let's be completely honest. And you may improve massively this year, you may not. And say, we want you to take 150,000 pound a week pay cut. With incentives, you can get close to that again. If you score 25 goals in all competitions, you have to add 10 assists to that. We have to get into the Champions League and get to a cup final. Say those were the achievable outcomes. He might sit there and say, well, what if I get injured? What if the other signings don't work out? What if the manager's actually not as good as everybody thinks he is and I don't get what I need? That's why, listen, it's going to be hard for some players who have already achieved that huge level. All the players Chelsea have signed predominantly on this new wage structure are coming from much smaller clubs or are not earning that kind of money to begin with, or like a João Felix have fallen from grace. This is what I'm really intrigued about this one. So again, you could do it. And like I've said, if you pull this off, I think it's a phenomenal piece of business.
What is the sort of PSR FFP restrictions on those bonuses? Like if you're bringing a player in on lower wages and then you're saying, listen, we're going to give you a European qualification bonus, we're going to give you a goal bonus. Like, is that factored in the same way that's spent?
Yeah, but only when it's spent. So for instance, if you look at Liverpool, whenever they achieve certain goals or win things, you watch the following season, their wage bill skyrockets, because that's when the following season when they pay all those bonuses essentially. And some of the bonuses are paid in lump sum. Some of the bonuses are paid in additional monthly wages to people. That's how most of it's done. It isn't typically businesses don't like to take huge amounts of cash and just throw them out in one go. But PSR wise, there's no issues with it unless you get all those bonuses. But at the same time, let's say they sign 5 players on incentives like that, but it's all about personal achievement. And suddenly they get their wage bill goes up by 60, 70, 80 million, but they don't qualify for the Champions League. Now suddenly they find themselves in a situation where they could foul PSR because they've had to pay the bonuses, but they haven't achieved the income milestones needed. So it's all within the rules of the game. PSR is just essentially looking at how much you've lost in a financial year, and as long as it isn't over a certain threshold, it doesn't really matter what you spend your money on per se. Super chat here says Chelsea heavy shirts for James and Sancho combo this season. It says Carney, Sterling, and whoever that is reject United. Terry's logic. But I have said that. Well, we don't know what was. Man United have said no to Carney, but I did say that English talent. So this is a few people in the comments. Terry, you said that Sancho rejected us. No, I didn't. I stated that if the story from Fabrice Hawkins was true, that he had agreed a deal with Juve and there was a total agreement in place, then he turned down Chelsea. I believe that's what he's done if Chelsea were trying to convince him to come to their club. Equally, Man United reportedly made an offer to Sterling. Sterling has said no to it. I'm very comfortable to say he rejected our offer. It is what it is. As a grown man, that does not hurt me in any way, shape, or form. If we go Sterling, we'll make you a squad player 100 grand a week, and he goes away and thinks about it and says, you know what, I'm going to stay here and pick up my money, that's rejecting us. I'm very happy to accept it. It does not diminish how I feel about my club, and it doesn't change how I feel about myself as a man or as a person or as a human being, because my football club made an offer that was turned down by a football player. I've said it all along. It just isn't deep. People that make it deep, I worry about your wider psyche. It's as simple as that for me. I just don't. It's not a bother to me. Like, if it's a player I really want, I'm annoyed we didn't get the player, but I'm not annoyed about the rejection. That, for me, is something that if I controlled my football club's kind of public relations, I would say, please stop this. That's why you guys will remember when we went for Lenny Euro. I said it then before we got him. I'm so glad we're not doing the whole, we walked away because he only wants Real Madrid. Go for him. If he says no, he says no. I'd much rather know the truth and it not be kind of painted over. Equally, I said the same thing today. I don't think Fabrice Hawkins was wrong the other day. I do think that Sancho and Man United came to a pretty formal agreement in principle. But I think Chelsea have come back in and changed Sancho's mind the other way. I think it's a simple. That's why, ironically, I always say whenever I see a journalist go, it's a done deal. I always say I add another layer to it. I say, well, it's done deal is great until it's complete. Anything can fucking happen, and we've seen it happen again here. But there we go. Victor Osimhen to Saudi as well. Was that been reported as it? I haven't seen that one myself. We'll wait and see. Wow. Anthony Elanga to Newcastle is developing quickly and is likely to get done. Go on, Elanga. Go on, son.
Interesting.
Replacing, I suppose he's replacing what? Almiron, I suppose.
Yeah.
He's better than Almiron, let's be honest.
Yeah, I think overall he probably is. Obviously, some big games this weekend. I want to get some quick predictions from the two of you from them. Arsenal versus Brighton. How do you see it going and your score prediction, Lawless?
Oh, yeah, it's a tough one. Both teams are in really good form at the moment, but it's hard to look up past Arsenal, like the form that they're in at the moment. Even though they might be a bit disappointed, the energy around the fans might be disappointing. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a 2-1 Arsenal.
What are you saying, Steph?
It's in the Emirates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I expect a dominant performance from Arsenal. I'm gonna be very honest with you. Give this Arsenal team half the space and half the chances that we had last week, and they'll blitz them. I think Arsenal will win this one comfortably, honestly. Brighton is a good team, but I don't think they're the same team from the last couple years. You know, there's a lot that they're still working on under this new manager, and with the way Arsenal press and the way they control the ball when they win it back, I think they're gonna put a lot of pressure on this Brighton team, and I expect them to score like 3 goals. So probably like a 3-0 Arsenal win.
Brighton have had a good start, but I stand by both games they were in. Both Everton and Man United could have and should have scored more goals against them. They weren't flawless and impenetrable. So, yeah, I'm going to go. I think it'll be a really entertaining game. I'm going to go with an Arsenal 2-0. Arsenal 2-0 win in that match. The other big one tomorrow, I think, yes, tomorrow at 5:30, West Ham United versus Manchester City. Your predictions, Lawless, for your boys up against the champions.
I'll be watching, Lawless.
The world will be watching. All eyes are on us tomorrow. And
all right, then don't get overgassed. The whole world is not watching. Just I am.
I'm sorry. It's 5:30 kickoff in the Premier League against the 4-time in a row Premier League champions, treble winners, quad, all of that. We're against them. Of course, the world's going to be watching. And I don't know why, I feel oddly confident. I feel like, I swear I'm not joking. I feel strangely confident. I feel like we're going to get a result. Wan-Bissaka must come in at right back. He's going to do the bits. Trust me, he's going to have a great game.
Wan-Bissaka changed your life, bro. Look at his
You probably don't know who Danny Dyer is, do you, Staffy?
No.
He's a really famous sort of English East End actor. His daughter's also called Danny Dyer, and she is, I don't know if she's married, but she's with Jock Bowen, and they've got kids and everything together. But whenever you hear, but Danny Dyer, her dad, the famous actor, he is like a diehard West Ham fan, and he always talks about how he's not sure who he loves more, his daughter or the fact that his son-in-law's like Bowen, right? That's how Lawless seems to be with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. There does seem to be a real bromance going on here. The love is in the air.
Right back has been a cursed position for us, nearly most of my life. So to see someone that good, I just feel like it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be 1-1. I think we're going to get drawn. I'm not going to go mad and say we're going to win.
Mate,
I think we're going
I'm
to draw.
putting that out there for the energy. I'm going to go 1-1 as well. Because if Arsenal do win and City pick up a draw, there is 35 games to go. But I think for it to be a fun season, you need City to drop some points in the early games.
That would be bittersweet.
I think you need it.
That if I contribute to Arsenal fans getting gassed online, that would be bittersweet.
What would you rather? Help Arsenal win the league or get panned 8-0 by City on Saturday?
If we got panned and it meant nothing to our season, like it mean like that result didn't mean we miss out on Europe or we missed out on relegation. Yeah, let's get panned. Like, it's cool. I've seen it many times against City. It's happened. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So I'll take one for the team. But
I love it.
For the sake of the Lopetegui era, a result on Saturday would be
You kind of
great.
need it. I think you need it. What would your prediction be, Staffy?
Listen, the Spanish David Moyes, bro, is the Hammers are getting hammered tomorrow, bro. It's that simple, bro. I'll be watching Lawless.
How long did it take you to think of that one, eh? Hammers getting hammered. Did you? I bet it took a long time.
I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I just think of shit and I just say it. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's corny. I end up saying it anyways. You know.
Sometimes it's good.
You're getting
sometimes it's
hammered.
shit.
I was gonna say you're getting hammered, and then I was like, I noticed. I was like, you are the Hammers, so might as well just say that. And if it
The
sticks,
Hammers are getting hammered.
Yeah, but bro, I'm not gonna lie. It might get ugly for you guys.
It could do as well. It could go that way. Newcastle host Tottenham. They've battered Tottenham a few times up there. It's been an interesting start from both this season. There's a lot of big clashes this weekend. What are you going with, Staffy? Newcastle home win or Spurs winning away?
If I back one of these teams to win an ugly game, it's never going to be Spurs, unfortunately. I don't think this game is going to be as nice as people think. But when you look at it historically in the last couple years, Newcastle's been scoring a lot of goals against these guys. And it's not even Ainge's Spurs, just Spurs in general. And I think tomorrow is going to be one of these as well. I think Newcastle's going to win. And it might not look good for Ainge tomorrow. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think, from what I've seen from Ainge in the first two games, that I back him to win a tough game like this away to Newcastle. I think they'll do their thing. They're gonna come out. They're gonna play good football. They're gonna try to control the game in the beginning. But once Newcastle gain a little bit of momentum, get a little bit of that ball, and get the crowd behind them, and you know that that Newcastle stadium can get loud sometimes. I think they're gonna put them under pressure, and they might. I think Spurs are going to have another capitulation tomorrow. I really do. And I think it might be something like 3-1 Newcastle. Look at that. On one day, I predicted an Arsenal win and a Spurs loss. Not bad for a Spurs twerker, huh?
Oh, secret Arsenal fan, are we? Secret Arsenal fan.
Arsenal are scaring me. That's why.
I'm gonna go with 2-1 Newcastle.
Do you know what? I can see a draw. I think it'd be 2-2. Like I don't know. Like I think Spurs would have got a lot of confidence from that Everton win, even though it is Everton. I think they would have got a lot of confidence from that. And Newcastle still aren't looking up to speed from what I've seen of them this season. They're still looking a bit shaky. So I think the fact that it's at St James's Park gives them a bit of an edge. So I'd go 2-2.
Crystal Palace versus Chelsea. It's at Stamford Bridge. What are you saying, Lawless? Are they going to continue where they left off against Wolves? Or is it going to be a game where they need a serviette?
Yeah, I like that one. It's definitely going to be a Wolves continuation. Palace's record against Chelsea is absolutely horrendous. And I can't see anything changing here. Palace have let a lot of good players go and sort of signed a few average players. So, yeah, I mean, it was good for them keeping Gahey. That was a big sort of fail from Newcastle. But, yeah, man, I just can't see anything but a new Chelsea win. I'm going to go 4-1 Chelsea. See, Chelsea fans, you think we hate you all when we shit on you? Look, 4-1.
What about yourself, Staffy?
I have a sneaky feeling Palace is going to be a relegation fodder this season. I really do.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get relegated. It would be nice if they did. I'm not going to lie. I've had enough of this club. But
What did
Yeah,
they
they
do?
always give me trouble every year, bro. They'll lose to everyone, but they're gonna smash us when we go to.
Is that because they took Zaha and made him a world beater? And
Nah, it's because what they did to us last season. Every time we go to their stadium is always trouble, And they gave me Aaron Wan-Bissaka, so I can't forgive him for that. But see, I had to insert that.
Look at this guy.
I do have a feeling they're not gonna be a good team this year. I look at the players that they have that they let go of. Anderson is a big one. Gay, he might be the next one. Obviously, Ulisse, we know he left. I think Chelsea's gonna get the job done. I told you last week you would beat Palace, so at least give me credit for that. It's like I don't just hate on you guys. I'm objective with my takes. Said you'd win and you won, so you're welcome. But I think Chelsea's also gonna win. I think it might be like a 2-3-0.
I think they might concede a goal, Chelsea, in this game, because I still think defensively they can be got at. But yeah, I'm going 3-1. I don't think I'll score 6 again, but I'm going to go 3-1 Chelsea. Another victory, another kind of milestone. I think it will be a more complete game as well. I don't think it will be against Wolves. They scored early, and then barring the Palmer goal, they got pammed in terms of the play for the next sort of 45 minutes. I think this will be far more controlled and in Chelsea's favour. And I'm going to go with a 3-1 Chelsea win. And then the final game involving a member of the traditional top 6, Man United hosts Liverpool. What you saying, Lawless? How is this one going to pan out Sunday afternoon just before the international break?
Yeah, I'm going to go Liverpool win. I'm quite impressed with how Liverpool started under Slot, sort of just picked up where they left off under Klopp, really, for the most part. The good part of Klopp. Yeah, they're looking good. I'm going to say I'm going to go 3-2, a thriller. I'm going to go 3-2, but I think they'll have the edge. But yeah, I'm going to 3-2.
How about yourself, Staffy? How do you see it panning out?
See, this is my least favorite part of the show.
It is at Old Trafford, isn't it? It is at Old Trafford.
Old Trafford,
it
yes.
is. And that's honestly, that's the only reason why we might win. It's just Old Trafford tax. Outside of that, bro, I really can't give you a logical reason why we win. I actually don't know how you see us scoring 2 goals.
No, this fixture is really boring as well, actually, for the most part.
Yeah, but we've been struggling to create like a lot of clear-cut chances. You know what I'm saying? Like last game versus Brighton, we had 2 big chances. We scored, obviously, one of them. Forget the offside one. That was just unfortunate. I just don't know how we would do that against Liverpool because they have quality. And I'm not going to lie, Arne Slot is looking good. I said he was going to come to this Liverpool team and give him tactical flexibility. When people were already crying, saying, Slot out. Now they're seeing what he actually gives him. He gives him a different element that Klopp didn't do because Klopp played one style and one style only. While with Slot, you can see phases throughout the game where they possess the ball, slow the ball a little bit down, and then there's phases where they just absolutely blitz their opponent. And I'm not looking forward to that game. I'm not going to lie to you. I think Ten Hag is going to get absolutely outcoached by Slot. I think he's going to put himself under great pressure because if you lose this game, it means you start with 3 points out of 9. And you cannot get a second chance by Ineos and then start the season 3 out of 9. It means that they gave you trust and you're already failing them. And it will be deserved because you should have won that Brighton game. So you put yourself under immense pressure now. Now you have to win next game. I hope we win. I hate the Scouts. I hate Liverpool. I hate everything about Liverpool. I always want us to beat Liverpool no matter what. I just don't see it happening, bro. And I think we're going to lose. We're probably going to lose like 3-1.
I'm going to change it to 2-1. I think it'll be close. The fact that it's at Old Trafford. But yeah, I haven't been impressed by you guys this season. Even your win over Fulham, I wasn't massively impressed. Maybe it will take you a bit of time. And maybe
our midfield is the issue, though, Lawless. Like, this is what people don't understand. And I was saying this yesterday in the chat, Terry. Sorry?
Do you think any of your new signings will come in?
No, because Ugarte can't be in the game. Like, look at the comments. This guy's toxic. I'm sorry that my realism is found by you to be toxic. Mason Mount, who he started in the first 2 games, who was at least keeping off-ball possession well, is now injured. Scott McTominay, who was his go-to guy when he needed a goal, is now gone. He actually doesn't have the tools that was saving his job. Ugarte is not even going to be on the bench because his paperwork is not ready. Our midfield will be Bruno, Menu, and Casemiro, and we don't have any options off the bench, bar like Collier and Eriksson. I'm sorry that midfield is not good enough. I watch football with my eyes. I'm sorry that I'm not deluded and I can't look at this and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna smash them tomorrow. Guess what? And this is something that I notice about people who talk about football overseas or people who live in England. There's a lot more tribalism and there's a lot more how do I say this? A lot more passion in your takes if you live close to there. If you're from Manchester, of course I expect you to be pumped up and say all that, and you want to delude yourself to think that we're gonna win. We all have eyes, okay? We all watch games. No one watched those first 2 games and think that United will look better than Liverpool. As I said, it's only Old Trafford tax. Could we win on the day? Of course. We didn't lose to them 3 times last season, and we were significantly worse than them. We were so bad last season. It was one of our worst ever seasons, and we didn't lose 3 times to them. So, of course, anything can happen. Like, I cannot take that and be like, you know what? Based on what I've seen so far, these are my analysis. We're going to win because of Old Trafford tax. I don't think so, bro. I really don't think so. I hope we do. I just don't think so. There's no reason why I should say otherwise. This Liverpool team just looks too good for us at the moment.
And listen, and I understand your logic. I'm still going for a 2-1 Man United win. But there are a lot of things you've said that I understand and I agree with. And I think this is the problem is that a lot of non-Man United fans, especially, and a few United fans, are getting confused with, is it a rebuild? Is it not a rebuild because the manager's here? But these are typically the people that live in the world that think managers run football clubs in 2024. When they don't, most football clubs don't actually have managers in terms of their job role. They have head coaches who coach the team. The club is managed
now, right? Is he officially a head coach now?
I don't think his job is titled as that, but he has publicly spoke about how he and we know his veto's gone one way, shape, or form because he wanted to keep McTominay and not sign Ugarte, and that hasn't happened. I've got a theory as well. I think the club has purposely not registered Ugarte because he's not ready. Because I think they're worried that Ten Hag will play the fucker when he ain't fully, because he's got a habit of doing that. And I'll just start him and then he pulls a bloody hamstring and he's out for 2 months.
Even though we didn't want
him. He got told by the medical team, Ten Hag, that Yoro's got a little issue with his foot. Don't rush him in. And he kind of ignored it, and his metatarsal went. Like, this is the kind of thing. So I'm not surprised that, Ugarte's not had a full preseason. He's not played many games. Yeah, that's just not registering. Then he can't play. Then he can have a 2-week mini preseason here and be ready for the return of the campaign. But listen, I get where you're coming from, Staffy. But the big overarching point I'm making is we are at the beginning of a rebuild. And sometimes you have to cut a piece of yourself off before you move forward. And I do think there are areas of our team that maybe look a bit weaker now because of who we've allowed to leave. But I want us to continue trying to play the way that we've attempted to play in the last few games. We've got to start stripping back the squad. We've got to start getting rid of dead wood. But there comes a time where that can sometimes make you more vulnerable at certain moments in time with what we're doing. And this is what I've said. It's going to take 3 to 4 years to get the squad where we want it to be and the team where we want it to be, with or without this manager. If we got rid of Ten Hag tomorrow and brought in one of the best in the world, it would still take 3 to 4 seasons, in my opinion, to consistently play at a level good enough to win the Premier League based on the standard that's here right now. My mind wouldn't change too much on that. So I get where Staffy's coming from, but Old Trafford tax, you can call it that, whatever it may be. I am going for a Man United win 2-1 on Sunday. Look, I want to thank everybody that's tuned in to the show. You know how much we appreciate here at the Football Terrace. Even you haters.
Chat, by the way.
Even you haters that tune in, I genuinely love you. My mum, asked me the other day. She went, "I watched one of your shows, son." And she went, "How do you handle those people that are nasty to you?" I said, "They're my favorites because they're here every day. They're here every day. Come rain, come shine. And I think if the world ended and I went live, those mofos like cockroaches, they'd be there, right? I'm not calling you cockroaches. I'm saying the analogy of a nuclear bomb, cockroaches. That's what I mean. You're not. You're lovely people. I love my haters. You are my favorite people in the whole world. That's why I made quite a few of you moderators. Might as well have you moderate the chat because you guys are here all the time. Napoli have issues with Ali, with Victor Osimhen, and going for Ivan Toney. Things are heating up now. The fire's starting.
This could be the drama one.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Imagine AWB gets more GA than Mazwari.
He nearly got
no. It says imagine he has. I don't know if he's talking about. But don't do that, Lawless. Do you not know your team? Mazraoui already has an assist from last game, and I could swear everyone beside played like 20 minutes of Premier League football for you. So, what a waste of a super chat that was just to spend money on incorrect information. At least come in with the right information.
James here says, Terry, if you're calling Man United's rebuild, why didn't you use the same, knowing even Gazidis was in charge of Arsenal in Arteta's first 2 years? It's a really great shout. But do you remember watching a big debate that me and Lee Gunner had maybe about 9 months ago, 10 months ago now, where he said he was going to cook me because he's like, why don't I have the same energy? I want Ten Hag sacked, but why don't I have that same energy for Arteta? Firstly, my view of Arteta and Arsenal situation versus Man United last season and Ten Hag situation were different. But what I pulled on is that what I didn't know at the time, because I'm not an Arsenal fan, and this is the beauty of what we do as a job, is that I'm meant to be educated by the fans of each club, by them talking to me. And the more they tell me and the more I then go and research, the more I learn, and it becomes a growing thing, right? It's like the Eat Straight Fact Show with the people we're with. It's like each week's a continuation of our conversations and stories and challenges, and we all learn things, right? That's the point. Once I learn, and this was only after about 2 or 3 years at the club, all the changes that started at the same time as Arteta's first 2 years made so much more sense to me. Equally, it was why last year I felt that Ten Hag had to go. And these boys will tell you, when Ten Hag was kept on, I was like, it's not what I would have done. I think a rebuild's easier with the new manager. However, United have decided to go for a different reason. That may end up being the right or wrong decision in the future. We will see. So, yes, you're right that in the first 2 years, I didn't use that excuse, but I didn't know about it. So, again, that's why we have, and I would say this about most YouTubers in the football world. I have always said this. I do not claim to be the encyclopedia of football. I don't claim to know everything. Hundreds of occasions, people come onto the shows with new information, tell me things I research. I go, I didn't know that. And then you hear me talk about it. I used to say net spend was real. And then I started speaking to the football financial experts who laughed at it and said it was a joke. So my mind changed. So really good challenge, my friend. But hopefully that answers your question. Terry, has your opinion changed on Yoro's injury? Do you blame Ten Hag? Once all the news came out that we knew he had a problem with his foot and shouldn't have been playing, yes, I did. Because I got the information. What I didn't do, the people that said it was Ten Hag's fault initially had no idea about the medical report. So they just guessed right. Doesn't mean they ended up guessing it correctly, but no one knew that information. That's why I didn't condemn it until it was confirmed. So there is a difference there. But definitely, if he had a strain on that bone and shouldn't have been playing those games, and the managers picked him, I blame him. I also blame the hierarchy. How are you allowing that to happen? Maybe they didn't think it'd be too stupid. He wouldn't have done it. Maybe he's not being micromanaged. But then I expect him now to make sure it never happens again, because that'd be crazy, right? There we go. Listen, I want to thank everybody that has tuned in. We will be live later tonight to round up deadline day with a panel for you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Peace.